it is the best case scenario that we're watching play out for Bitcoin right now. I mean, I don't know what you guys are looking for if you're not satisfied with the market right now, but we literally rallied from, this low down here at 50K to 108. We punched in a double top, which is in and of itself, quite a big deal. And despite that double top, it did not have enough strength to stop the market for coming up for a third attempt over here. And I have to say, from my experience over 8 years of doing this, triple tops are exceedingly unlikely to happen in the market, okay? If you come up to this kind of high for the third time in a row, you're actually most of the time looking at that market continuing to go on upwards. And I think if you just if you just kind of ground this with what's going on in traditional finance, I mean, you're not going to have sunny days in crypto without sunny days in traditional finance for the most part for now. And it's looking very sunny for traditional finance, okay? They're more or less at the same places right now with respect to the all-time highs, both Bitcoin and the S&P 500. And, if we take a look at this chart and just kind of digest a little bit more of kind of what this is showing us, look, we had this huge pullback back down to a critical zone of support. Bear in mind, the S&P 500 retested its all-time high from 2022. Bitcoin very nearly did, but it front ran the level, which is extremely typical, right? By the way, I think, we just forget about this stuff because so many people in the space are just ridiculously low IQ. But, we had a really good zone of support in this market, and it was $12,000, right? It was $12,000 that was the really good zone of support for Bitcoin on the way back down, and it was a good zone of support because it was a respected kind of level of resistance going back quite some time, right? I mean, you can even drop this line a little bit lower down to about here, so now we're kind of just basically 12K on the dot. I mean, we had some pretty significant reversals coming here from the 2018 bear market. I know that we're going back really far, but you'll understand my point in just a second. We had a really significant reversal coming off this level back in 18, and then again in 2019, and then again in 2020, and yet when we were setting a low, what did we do? We front ran that level, okay? We didn't actually drop down to that level. We only came about 22% away, which, by the way, when you're already dropping down by 77%, we're not asking for that much from the high to come back down to 12K, okay? But the market didn't give it to us because the market front runs levels when you punch in real lows, okay? When you have a real low, you do tend to punch in higher, front run kind of lows. And another example is right here, right? This one you've got to kind of zoom in a little bit more to really get in and see what happened. But I mean, this is where Bitcoin bottomed out, and this is the support level it was looking for, right? And you didn't get that touch. Now imagine how many people would have been bidding down here or even down in the 40s to get a little bit of cheap Bitcoin. They didn't get it, okay? If the market is bullish, you're not going to get those kind of levels. So the reason that's important is, look, you can cry and moan about what's happening right now all you like, but if you don't even understand how we got here, then you're not going to have a good chance of having any sort of informed opinion on what's going to be happening moving forward. So I think that's really important, and that's what we aim to bring right here on this YouTube channel. If you do appreciate this content, you know exactly what to do. Smash up those likes and all that good stuff. Double check that you're subscribed. Look at all the spam comments. It is ridiculous right now, but hopefully YouTube can clean that up. But yeah, with this low, I think giving us this high, this is a super super healthy rally. I mean, we've already looked at this, but let's just draw your attention to this one more time. We've got rally 1 over here, we're up by 15%, and then we've got rally 2, we're up by 15%, and then we've got rally 3, and we're up by 15%, and each time we consolidate it, my goodness, I don't know what to say to you, ladies and gents. If this isn't good enough for you, then I really don't think there is a market for you at that point, right? Like, I mean, these are incredible rises. We're talking about 15% stacked on top of 15, stacked on top of 15, with just a week or two of consolidation each time. We're looking pretty good. I feel like we could break the all-time high any day. I feel like we could do it any day now. Hopefully it doesn't happen on the weekend, because obviously today is a Friday. Hopefully we don't see it happening on a weekend, because then we're going to have CME and gap questions and stuff like that, and whatever. So maybe we just kind of mess around. Maybe altcoins can kind of have a bit of sunshine, right? Because there's been a pretty spectacular kind of rise up for Bitcoin's dominance, and now a big drop. And actually, if we go ahead and kind of take a look at what this is showing us as far as kind of Fibonacci retracements, we've got Bitcoin's dominance basically just sitting in this golden pocket right now. So it could definitely be time for Bitcoin's dominance to take another kind of dive lower, and that's what I'm looking for, down to about the 60% level. And that's probably going to mean some really nice kind of gains in the altcoin market, man. I mean, take a look at Ethereum right here, just consolidating inside of resistance, which of course is one of the most bullish things that you can do. We've got Solana right here really trying to make this an inverse head and shoulders that ends up taking itself significantly higher. And if it can, that next stop is going to be 002 BTC USDC per token right here, which is absolutely a very, very big deal. I mean, against the dollar, this thing wants to go. It's really trying to go. It's fallen out of the range. And it's reclaimed the range, and now it's kind of going back for the top, but this time inside of an environment where traditional finance is also looking super bullish. It's just clearly a pretty charged up atmosphere right now, and I think that the only people that don't feel it are retail, which is completely appropriate, right? I mean, we're not expecting retail to be happy or even feeling any kind of glory in these markets. It doesn't belong to you. The glory belongs to the institutions and the people that have been doing this for many decades with well-established principles and practices and algorithms and tons of money to invest into what they build. Success is not for you and I, the average guy. Okay, so if we're feeling like things are a little bit shit, and yet prices are literally at all-time highs, then maybe you've been kind of caught up in some of the scams that actually we've been warning about on this channel going back quite a few years now. Here's the fear and greed index, which does not represent some of this kind of negative sentiment, because I'm hearing targets of like 50k at this point, which, I understand everybody wants to say shit, but I don't really feel like we've got basis to go there right now. I would love to hear some arguments. Maybe somebody's got an argument that they want to kind of, maybe a YouTuber that you like is saying something interesting. I'd be happy to get on a, kind of collaboration, some sort of live stream and, kind of talk it out. But as far as kind of sentiment goes, look, we're looking pretty good here, which is, we're looking pretty high here, which is not good, I would say. Obviously, you want this to be, kind of close to neutral as much as possible, but 70 is not, abysmally high. Abysmally high is not really the right way to say it, but 70 is not, like a deal breaker. We can definitely get a lot higher and keep on going up, okay? So, I mean, this is right after Trump got elected. Our sentiment was in the 80s and 90s, and it just kept going up, and the sentiment just kind of stayed there, right? So we've definitely got some room to kind of increase as far as sentiment goes here. But bottom line, ladies and gents, you're consolidating at a high. I mean, it's really hard to kind of beat that. If things do start kind of going south, then, we do have a couple of levels here that we can kind of watch out for to see where potential bounces could be coming in. Obviously, I think that one of those levels is going to be just, this local low kind of setup that we've got here, which we can really appreciate here on the kind of hourly time frame. We can probably draw a fixed range volume profile to kind of see a couple of spikes, and I think the value area low, this line right here, really says it all. As kind of being the low for this range, punching in at about kind of 102.6. I think that this level can come lower down to, honestly, I think, even 101.x is going to be reasonable. But, this is clearly, a sort of kind of sideways trading range that, Bitcoin is in right now. And as long as these lows keep on getting defended, you're good. If they don't keep getting defended, then I think you're still pretty good, because, we've got the 100K level, just, 100K flat basically, which is obviously going to be serving as some sort of a kind of psychological support level now, especially considering that, we spent a bit of time up here. That's what happened last time, mind you. We kind of consolidated up here, and then we back tested some of these levels, came down to 97, and then, we had another attempt at the all-time high. This one obviously could have set new all-time highs, but it didn't. But to me, the chance of that failing again, is just not that high, right? I mean, we're coming. It's just, you've got to understand, and this is why I started the video off with a macro outlook. You've got to understand how we ended up here, okay? It's completely different now being back at this price level when we're no longer literally in price discovery mode, right? Everything that happened after this all-time high right here, it was all price discovery, and that's really important because, it's just a little bit like there's a little bit of anxiety, right? You've never seen these price levels before, and now you're seeing them for the first time, and there's a lot of excitement and emotion, and there's people talking, and there's announcements, and, the group chats are going off, you know what I mean? Like, it's just hectic. But this time when we come back up, it's so much more controlled. I mean, just look at it in terms of time, right? I mean, if you look at the time it took for Bitcoin to do the majority of this move, it was a 16-day time period to go up by about 36%. And on this occasion here, to get to a comparative level, this took a month, right? So, I think, and actually, to get to, where we are right now, we're consolidating on the way up. I mean, look, there's no consolidation here and plenty of consolidation happening here, right? So, there's that. There's the fact that we're not in price discovery, and there's the fact that we already set a double top, okay? So, let's flip it, and take our heads out of our asses for a second here. If you're bearish about the market, then this double top is a really big deal to you, right? But if you come back up to the same level again and you're trying to argue for a triple top now, your argument is really weak. I mean, when the market sets all-time highs, it's not typically going to set all-time highs by constantly hitting a ceiling, and then dropping down. That's not usually how it goes. Usually how it goes is you get a top like this. You get a pretty clear top that, the price doesn't really have a chance to kind of fight with, and we see it on every top. Every top is quite, if you replay the chart just to here, actually this one obviously makes sense, but if you even, replay the chart just to here, this is it's a sharp pullback. That's my point, is that you're getting sharp pullbacks at each of these tops, and obviously they end up getting bought back up, and that's where, other market dynamics come in. That's why it's not so, kind of clear cut, but ultimately, we're still looking at the same thing here, I feel, every single time, where pretty much if you're going to set a top, you're not going to set it by being this comfy at the all-time high. You're probably not going to be comfy at those levels. You're probably going to get pretty harsh, pretty swift rejections, and we're not getting that right now. We're actually getting a second period of consolidation up here, and this is after front-running the previous all-time high. As far as structure goes, you cannot argue with this. It's really, really strong. As far as kind of horizontal levels and just other kind of zones of support go, obviously we've got tons of it down here at kind of 96 and even stretching down to the low 90s. I don't really want to see Bitcoin coming down to these levels, but I'll tell you what, if we do, we're probably going to have some fib levels lining up with this. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. I think we already did, but we'll take another look at it again anyway. And drawing it to the high that we just set, we've got a very powerful 618 retracement, and our 382 lines up with the 94k level that we were already looking at. But if we draw it to the actual all-time high, our levels start shifting a little bit to some really interesting price zones. Our 382 now sits at the bottom of our kind of 96 zone of support, which is really important. Let me draw that for you guys again, because I want to actually draw a couple of things now to demonstrate this. So just to be clear, I drew this from this absolute low to this absolute high, and we've got our 618 golden pocket coming in here at a very valuable price area. I don't think we're coming down that low, but if we do, it would be quite crazy. Obviously our 382 coming in right here at the kind of bottom of this support range, which we already knew was quite a big deal. So I just feel like there's a lot going for Bitcoin. If we look at this as far as kind of momentum, our daily EMA ribbon hasn't even caught up with the market yet, so we've got a ton of support if Bitcoin does end up taking a little kind of shallow dive down. On the 4-hour time frame, we're kind of starting to lose this, so it's not looking too great right now. But on the Ichimoku cloud, we've broken this resistance, and we're still building support down below us, coming into kind of mid-June now as well. So honestly, like a pretty good picture, right? Like, I don't really know where any bearish kind of biases and ideas are coming in right now, because I cannot, kind of see from those perspectives right now, even if I try. This is ultimately an extremely fucking bullish chart. There's just no other way I can put it, right? I mean, we're just looking at it for what it is, and I think just the fact that we're seeing Bitcoin's dominance start to kind of come up a little bit now in response to this big drop, it is a perfect opportunity for some pretty aggressive, pretty positive altcoin momentum across the weekend, and then hopefully the S&P 500 can finally do something a little bit more interesting, where, I don't know what Trump's plans are, but assuming that he's flying back to the United States over these next couple of days, we might end up seeing something very interesting set up for the Monday trading session here. And if we do see a big move up, then obviously that's going to be great. Now, it's worth noting, and I've already said this, that the S&P hasn't actually had any sort of significant pullback, or any pullback at all, really, since this low down here, which comes in at 5,100 roughly. We haven't seen any kind of pullback. There was a little pullback here from 5,700 down to about 5,600, but this one was obviously a little bit larger. It was about a 300.6% drop. We've now gone up by about 70% without having any sort of pullback, and we were gapping up in between a couple of times. So there is a little bit of cause for concern there. I know that a lot of people love to say that gaps always get filled on the S&P 500, and they are mostly right. That is actually true a lot of the time. So I feel like theories like this are childish, so I don't talk about them. But if you subscribe to those theories, then you're probably expecting a little bit of downside for the S&P 500 as well. So as always, we've got to be open to these possibilities. But, you know, as far as the market setup goes right now, it is good, right? That doesn't mean that it has to pump from here, but it's definitely a good market setup. Gold keeps on retracing, you know, which I think is really interesting. Obviously, if gold is retracing, then that's going to, you know, continue to be a direct inverse correlation with the S&P 500 and other kind of speculative investment instruments. So that's going to be something that I think is worth kind of keeping an eye on as well. But for me, it's Bitcoin's dominance. I'm just here to kind of spot opportunities right now. I think there are some great opportunities. We've got Trump coin kind of coiling up right now among a couple of support levels. We've got Solana back down at its $170 level, which it's been really finding a lot of support from right now. Obviously, if these levels fail, it's going to be pretty bad because we've been relying on them for a long time now. But, you know, if we are able to produce another bounce, it would be a pretty big deal. You know, I think for the most part, we're seeing other coins kind of moving pretty much the same. We've got a couple of strong performers like WIF right here, which is just kind of, again, it's just coiling up, getting ready for another move, right? Like, this is not how a rally ends typically. You know, if it ends, it's probably going to be a sharper pullback, although let's just measure this because this is a meme coin. Yeah, it's down 30% in 3 days. So it's obviously been a pretty intense pullback anyway, but, you know, if it's just kind of, you know, if it's just going to find itself coming down to some pretty, you know, nice, important support levels, then, you know, that would be actually very, very bullish, I think, for the market. So, yeah, very nearly down to that 382 retracement there, according to that fib right there. So I think that there are opportunities brewing in this market right now. I think we're probably going to be seeing them across this weekend, so that's going to be really interesting. If you're interested in trading these things with free money, then these exchanges linked in the description are going to give you a lot of it. All you've got to do is sign up using these links in the description, pick anyone you like, and start trading, and any profits that you generate are actually going to be yours to keep with the free money that they give you, which is absolutely sick because it means that you're trading more or less risk-free. So check it out if you're interested, but bear in mind your country's local laws and regulations. Okay, some countries have banned these exchanges completely, and if they have, then you would be breaking the law if you use them. So make sure that you are you know, following your country's local laws and regulations properly. But really cool stuff there. If you want to see more from us, then obviously hit that like button, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff. Get inside the free 4 Flies Gold Telegram channel for more analysis from the team around the clock, free of charge as well, and we'll see you all in the next one.